Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the fourth installment of my 5-part series in which I predict every single game on every single Big Ten team's schedule. So, if you have been liking the series so far, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton when you do that. Like the video, share it with your friends, and comment down below your thoughts on the next three teams in the series, which will be the 11th through 13th seeded teams according to my final rankings. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, for the remainder of this episode, I'm going to assume that you've watched one of the previous 3 episodes of this 5-part series on my channel before. So, you already know the deal. We've already done 3 episodes. The first one covered teams 1 through 4 that I've predicted. Episode 2 was 5 through 7. And episode 3 was 8 through 10. So we've already done the top 10. So we're going to be doing teams that are not quite as good as the top 10, but I still think are going to be solid teams. The finale, which will drop tomorrow, Sunday, August 18th, I think, is the day. And that one will include my cellar dwellers. It's a video that I do not enjoy to make. This video was unpleasant to make as well. But anyway, that's enough jibber jabber from me. Let's dive right in with the Michigan State Spartans. Excuse me there. All right. Let's talk about their swing games a little bit. Michigan State goes to Maryland. This is a big game. This is the first Big Ten game on the schedule out of every Big Ten team. In week 2, this is the earliest game. The first one will be Michigan State going to Maryland. I have Michigan State winning this game. I think Michigan State will be able to make enough plays, and I don't think Maryland's defense and frankly offense as well will be ready enough to play a Big Ten team in week 2. Maryland may yet come up in this video, but I think that Maryland's going to be a bit slow to come out the gate with their best stuff, and their back half of the schedule not really conducive to wins, but I will explain my reasoning for them later on. You beat Prairie View, you beat Boston College. You're going to take 2 automatic losses in weeks 5 and 6. You take your bye week in week 7. You come out, lose to Iowa at home, lose at Michigan. Understandable losses. The only loss that you could flip to be a win is probably at home versus Iowa, but Iowa's defense is going to be too good to really do anything for Michigan State. Then you get your first win since week 4 in week 10 when you play host to Indiana. I think Michigan State's defense will be better than what people are saying, and that's why I have them winning this game. Then you go into a bye week, setting up your second swing game, in my opinion, going to the Illini. I think that this game is going to be huge coming out. If they really want to make an impact on the season, they got to win that one coming off of a bye. But I think this game being at Champaign, Illinois is going to be fighting for their life as well. Brett Bielema is going to be fighting for his life as well by that point in the season, as we may yet see in this video. So I think Illinois goes out and grabs this one. And now to make a bowl, I think at this point, Michigan State, they have to win versus Purdue or versus Rutgers. Rutgers, I think, is too good of a team, and I think Michigan State will lose to them, setting up my third and final swing game, versus Purdue. You have this game at home. I don't think Purdue's going to be that great, and I think you get a W there. To put your record at 6-6, they will go bowling with Jonathan Smith in year 1. It will be huge. It will just ride that momentum into recruiting, into the transfer portal, and into the offseason, which is huge for Michigan State. I am higher on Michigan State than a lot of people, but that's just me. I like what Michigan State has. They're not too deep, and that does concern me, but when you have a quarterback, you have a chance, right? And Aiden Childs is a really darn good quarterback, and Jonathan Smith is a really darn good head coach. So that's my spiel on Michigan State. All right, we will now move to our number 12 team, the Illini, the Fighting Illini of Illinois. In this schedule here, there is some opportunity for them to do pretty good, but I still think that they will finish with a record of 5-7, and miss a bowl game. This is the first team in the Big Ten that I have missing a bowl game, and the fact that it's at 12 means that the Big Ten is going to be pretty darn deep this year, according to yours truly. So you open up week 1 with a win versus Eastern Illinois. You'll lose at home to Kansas. Kansas is going to be really good, in my opinion, possibly even a college football playoff appearance. A little bit of a spoiler there. I've, spoiled that in the past before. I think Illinois comes out, beats Central Michigan. They lose at Nebraska. That's going to be a Friday night game. It's going to be Nebraska's 400th sellout, straight sellout. And I just don't think Illinois is going to have the cojones to win that game, especially since Illinois had Nebraska at home last year and they still lost 20-7, and it could have been worse. You take an automatic L at Penn State, you get a much needed bye week, you come out and you beat Purdue at home. Again, Luke Altmaier isn't a bad quarterback. He's just kind of okay, in my opinion. He has a good arm, so Illinois is going to be putting up some points. The question is, can they score enough points? And the question is, can they play good enough defense? I think you lose to Michigan, you lose to Oregon, and you're going to take a surprise loss to Minnesota. That's my second swing game. My first one, was Purdue. So I think that this Minnesota game, it's going to go back and forth. I think Minnesota's got enough defense to where Illinois is going to have to make some plays happen, and I just don't see that one landing out well. PJ Fleck, again, a very good head coach, and I think he's going to be able to squeeze some wins out of his roster. We may see that in this video or the next one when I talk about PJ Fleck and the the Golden Gophers. You take your bye week, then you come out and beat Michigan State. We've already talked about that. Then you lose at Rutgers. Then my final swing game here is at Northwestern. I think that this game is so important for them. Even though they can't secure a win, it's going to be one that Bret Bielema, will need. You can't really go 4-8 if you're Bret Bielema and not think that you're either number one on the hot seat or you're going to stay with Illinois. I think that Illinois comes out best coached game of the year, and they're going to get their best ball there at Northwestern, and they're going to win. Again, Northwestern, not really a home crowd there. They're playing at a high school stadium, a glorified high school stadium at that. So I think that Illinois goes 5-7. I think that they will finish 12th in the Big Ten. And let's move on to our final team in this video. All right, last team in the video that I have here is the Maryland Terrapins. I think that they will finish 5-7 and that they will finish 13th in the Big Ten. Let's go through it. I think that they have a fast start to their schedule, but they are going to drop off at the end. You can see the number of wins on the left and the number of losses on the right. It's pretty much split, except this Michigan State game, which we start off at. We already talked about that one enough, so we can just skip right on over that. First swing game to me, you go at Indiana. Your first Big Ten road game. I think that Maryland comes out strong on defense in this game. They're finally up and running, and I think that they get a quality win at Indiana. The next one, 2 weeks later after a bye versus Northwestern, you have Northwestern coming to Maryland, and I think after a bye week, you're going to be well coached, well rested up, and I think that you win that game as well, improving your record to 5-1 on the season. But I think Maryland, this is one of my keys with Maryland, I don't think they're as well coached, just to put this politely, as other teams in the Big Ten, and frankly, I don't think they have the depth to survive in this new 18-team Big Ten conference unless they move things around and they play better ball and they recruit better, because to be honest, I mean, I don't know, this is kind of a spiel here, but I don't know what Mike Locksley is even doing anymore. He was brought on to be an elite recruiter. He hasn't even done that. But he can't scheme, can't really actually coach. He's not an offense or defensive specialist. So right now he's just a glorified game manager at this point. So getting back to the main point, I don't think that Maryland has enough depth to survive this whole schedule. And you look at the teams that they play: USC, Oregon, Rutgers, Iowa, Penn State, all to me automatic losses because late in the season, those teams have depth. Those teams have depth and they have talent. Maryland, in my opinion, doesn't have either. All right. So I hate to hate on teams. I'm not going to lie, but I just got to say the truth when I see it. All right. Last swing game, you go to Minnesota. This, again, we talk about Minnesota. They're going to be a feisty team this year. They are. They're going to be a feisty team, but I don't think they're that talented. Well, let me reword that. I don't think they're as talented as they could be. PJ Fleck's a very good head coach, and it's tough to play in Minnesota. I don't know that many people realize it, or if you're an Ohio State fan or whatever, you don't realize it because you'll stomp all over them anyway. But playing at Minnesota and you're a middle level team like Maryland or Michigan State or Illinois, it's tough. It is tough to go in there and win, especially with how passionate Minnesota fans are, with how that stadium is. So I think that you drop this one as well. Again, I could totally see them losing to Virginia early and beating Minnesota, or losing to Indiana and beating Minnesota. So I think objectively, this is what their record is going to be: 5-7, and that is it for me with this video. Next video will be dropped Sunday, August 18th, where we go over the final 4 teams in the Big Ten, 15 through 18. I'll already tell you right now, because if you have a brain, you've already figured it out. But Indiana's in there, Northwestern's in there, Minnesota's in there, UCLA's in there, and Purdue is in there as well. I will explain my rationale and everything in that final video. And then I do plan on giving you guys an ACC predictions video, a SEC predictions video, and a Big 12 predictions video as well. And I'll throw Notre Dame in there as well because I love Notre Dame if you've known me long enough. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one tomorrow.